Imagine this. There was a group of women, and every time the sun went down, their bodies would literally glow in the dark. A shimmering, luminescent green, just like fireflies in the night. They'd go to work like normal people, but by evening, their dresses would be radiating light. Their teeth would glow when they smiled. People started calling them the Ghost Girls. But then, one by one, they started collapsing. Their teeth fell out, their jawbones crumbled into pieces like stale crackers. And the most terrifying part, decades after they died, if you brought a Geiger counter to their graves, the machine would still shriek with deafening clicks right above their caskets. You probably think this is a script for some sci-fi Marvel movie, right? Nope. This is a true story. One of the most brutal, devastating, and inhumane cover-ups in American industrial history. An event that completely redefined the way we work today. Welcome to the dark and glowing true story of the Radium Girls. Let's rewind to 1917, right in the brutal thick of World War I. The US military had a massive headache on their hands. How do soldiers check their watches in the pitch-black trenches without lighting a match, which would instantly turn them into target practice for the enemy? The answer lay in a miraculous element recently discovered by Marie and Pierre Curie: radium. When you mix radium with zinc sulfide, you get a paint that naturally glows in the dark without needing any sunlight to charge. It was absolute magic. So the United States Radium Corporation set up shop in New Jersey. They hired hundreds of young, working-class women, many just 18 or in their early 20s, to paint these glowing numbers on watch dials. At the time, this was the absolute dream job. It paid 3 times more than the sweatshops. The environment was clean, and they got to work with the most premium substance on Earth. Back then, people worshipped radium as a miracle cure-all, used in everything from fighting cancer to treating the common cold. Each girl was handed a tiny camel hair brush. To paint the microscopic numbers on the watch dials, the brush needed a perfectly fine point. The foreman taught them an incredibly simple technique: lip, dip, paint. Meaning, put the brush in your mouth to wet it into a sharp point. Dip it into the radium paint, paint the dial, put it back in your mouth. They licked those brushes hundreds, sometimes thousands of times a day. The paint was so beautiful that the girls even secretly painted their fingernails with it, put it on their teeth to spook each other in the dark, and dusted it on their dresses so they'd sparkle like goddesses at the weekend dance halls. They had absolutely no idea that with every single lick, they were signing their own gruesome death warrants. So what exactly does radium do inside the human body? Why is it so terrifying? Let's talk a little bit of science, but we'll keep it plain and simple. You know how our bodies are built. Our bones need calcium to stay strong. Calcium is basically the bricks that build the house of your body. But your body, it can be pretty gullible sometimes. On the periodic table of elements, radium sits in the exact same group as calcium. Structurally, they look incredibly similar. So when these young women swallowed radium, their digestive systems and brains essentially cheered. "Oh, awesome! Calcium! Send this straight to the bones, boys!" Instead of flushing it out, the body took all that highly radioactive radium and locked it deep inside their bone marrow, their teeth, and their spines. Imagine you're building a house, but instead of using baked clay bricks, you build the walls out of C4 explosives. The house looks great at first. It seems sturdy, until boom. Once radium is locked inside the bone, it starts firing off alpha particles, radiation. These particles act like millions of microscopic machine gun bullets, firing relentlessly 24/7 from the inside out. It blasted their bones into a fragile, hollow honeycomb. And the true horror was just about to begin. By the early 1920s, the C4 houses started detonating. The first to show severe symptoms was Molly Magia. It started with a simple toothache. The dentist pulled it, but the socket didn't heal. It turned into a festering ulcer. Then the next tooth fell out. Soon, her entire lower jaw was massively swollen. One day, her dentist gently prodded her jawbone, and her entire lower jaw literally detached from her face. He didn't even have to cut it. It just crumbled away like ash. The medical community later dubbed this horrifying condition radium jaw. Other girls started suffering spontaneous bone fractures just from walking. Severe anemia. Massive, unexplainable tumors. They desperately went to the US Radium Corporation for help. What do you think the company did? Recall the product and apologize? Nope. They crushed them. The company executives knew radium was incredibly dangerous. Down in their labs, the male scientists wore heavy lead aprons and used long metal tongs to handle the radium. They never touched it with their bare hands. Yet they told hundreds of poor working-class girls, it's perfectly safe. Keep licking. When the girls started dying in droves, the company hired fake doctors and corrupt experts to launch the dirtiest smear campaign imaginable. They told the press that these women were dying of syphilis, a sexually transmitted disease, blaming it on a promiscuous lifestyle. They used their wealth, greed, and the media to not only destroy these women physically, but to drag their reputations through the mud. It seemed like the bad guys were going to win and sweep it all under the rug. But they messed with the wrong woman. Enter Grace Fryer, a dial painter who realized her teeth were falling out and her spine was collapsing. She couldn't walk normally and had to wear a heavy steel back brace just to stand. Instead of waiting to die, Grace made a decision. I'm going to drag this $1 million corporation to court. It was the ultimate David versus Goliath battle. A young, disabled, working-class woman suing a massive industrial giant, backed by military contracts. For 2 long years, Grace couldn't find a single lawyer brave enough to take the case. Everyone was terrified of US Radium's power. Finally, a young, fearless lawyer named Raymond Berry took the case. Around the same time, Dr. Harrison Martland, a local medical examiner, figured out a way to measure radioactivity in human remains. He autopsied the deceased girls and found the smoking gun. Their bones had 0 trace of syphilis, but they were absolutely radioactive. Faced with this, the Radium Corporation pulled their most despicable trick yet: stalling. They continuously requested court delays for every reason under the sun. The goal was sickeningly clear. They were waiting for the girls to die before a verdict could be reached, and they almost succeeded. By the time the trial finally gained traction in 1928, Grace and 4 other women, the famous group of 5, were so weak they couldn't even raise their arms to take the oath. But the press caught wind of it. Pictures of these young, toothless women in steel braces fighting for their lives sent shockwaves across America. The massive public outrage forced the justice system to stop looking the other way.
In the end, the girls won, even though the settlement, about $10,000 each plus a yearly stipend, couldn't save their lives. They all passed away shortly after. Their victory changed history forever. This was an unprecedented milestone. For the first time in US history, a corporation was held legally responsible for the health and safety of its employees. It directly laid the groundwork for the creation of OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Every single worker in the world today who gets safety gear, regulated hours, or workers' comp owes a debt to the Radium Girls. But do you want to know the most chilling plot twist of this whole story? The cold, hard truth is that radium-226 has a half-life of 1,600 years, which means today, right now in the 21st century, if you take a Geiger counter to the cemeteries in New Jersey or Illinois, where Grace Fryer, Molly Magia, and their friends are buried, deep beneath the soil, their bones are still glowing. They are still radiating. It won't be until the year 3500 that the true price of that deadly beauty will finally fade away. Every time I read about the Radium Girls, I get chills thinking about corporate profits. Sometimes people are literally willing to trade hundreds of human lives just to make the numbers look good on an end-of-year financial report. Their sacrifice is a stark reminder. Workplace safety regulations didn't just appear out of nowhere. They were written in blood. I'll be honest with you guys. Back in the day, whenever my company made me sit through those mandatory safety training videos or handed me a giant HR handbook, I used to complain so much. I'd think to myself, man, why are we making a big deal out of this? Everyone knows how to use a copy machine. But looking back, it really hits different. Speaking of safety, though, just this past weekend, I dragged my old lawnmower out of the garage to get the yard in shape. It was blazing hot, so I got lazy. Didn't bother with safety glasses or work gloves. I gave the pull cord a massive yank, and the cord snapped, whipped back, and smacked me right across the knuckles. My hand swelled up like a balloon, and the mower just sat there puffing black smoke. My wife just stood there, hands on her hips, giving me that look like, see? Safety rules exist for a reason, genius. Man, that was a tough pill to swallow. Lesson learned, guys. From now on, I'm sticking to the manual.